good morning, and thank you for joining this LinkedIn Live with Trevor. Here's your host, Deborah Weinswig, CEO and founder of Coresight Research.
Great. Thanks so much, Maura, and good morning, everyone. We are very excited to be continuing our Innovator Profile LinkedIn Live series with Joel LaMontagne, serial entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of Trivver today. Joel, welcome.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you for having me today.
So can you kick us off by telling us a little bit about Trivver? It's hard to believe people in the audience don't know the story, but I do think a little bit of background on the company would be a great place to start.
Sure. So my background is in computer science and math. I've actually created products for NASCAR back in the day in a manufacturing facility out of Guangzhou, China, years ago. So the background of Trivver, this is going back about 10 years ago, when I actually saw my son play an online game, and he was repeating the same section of the game over and over again to achieve a better score. So when I saw that, what I did was I created a randomization engine that shuffled information and content inside these online games to make it a nonlinear experience. So once we started doing that, I learned very quickly that we could do product placement. We can actually personalize the branded content to each user. So this is really going in a fast forward pace to 10 years ago on how Trevor became an in-game product placement ad company to a full XR ad campaign manager company.
So what is the market opportunity and how big is it for XR?
So for XR, and just so people understand, XR really encompasses the terms augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality. So XR in 2021 reached $43 billion in sales. It is projected to reach $333 billion by 2025. So we're seeing exponential growth over the next 4 or 5 years in XR.
What is the problem that kind of XR advertising solves, and how does Trivver play into this?
Yeah, so XR is a new tool for advertisers, right? And with new tools and new technology, there's learning a process. So we've been spending a lot of time with big brands on how to engage with them and educate them how easy it is to actually create an XR ad campaign, launch it, and then measure it. So the biggest challenge that we've had in the past couple of years is really getting to the brands, having the conversation with big ad agencies, showing them how to do this with Trivver's ad platform, and being able to measure their success with XR ads.
And how has the crisis impacted your business, right? Many of us have pivoted or found new partners. Can you talk a little bit about what Trivver has done, and how are you working differently with your clients?
Yeah, so for really with this COVID pandemic, it's really pushed XR advertising exponentially, specifically for augmented reality. So augmented reality, we're seeing a lot of big brands, a lot of big, even mom and pop stores using AR. And the reason why is because AR is fun and engaging, and it gives the users more access and more things to do with augmented reality. Case in point, when I saw one of the first AR's campaigns, it was 19 Crimes, I think a couple of years ago, where you can actually hold your phone over the 19 Crimes logo, and the actual story was told. It's like a Harry Potter type of story. And once I saw that, I went out and bought the other 3 bottles of wine. Not that the wine is well, the wine's okay, but it was more it was more of a fun and engaging event where I had my friends come over just to watch the bottles of wine talk to us. So we're going from that, and we're seeing a lot of really cool AR stuff from Nike, from Adidas, from Bacardi. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, and they're really exploring the boundaries on how to use AR. And now we're seeing episodic adventures that we're actually working with a brand right now, and how to keep the story going, and not just create a linear experience with AR, but create an episodic adventure. So really, the past year, and this can continue to 2021, exponential growth in terms of AR, how to use it, how to deploy it, and how to make it sticky and fun engaging with everybody.
How do customers measure their success? What are the kind of key KPIs?
So it all starts with viewability metrics, right? So every brand has the same question. Once I send my ad out there, was there an opportunity for the user to see it? And if so, how long and how much of that ad did they actually see? And that becomes a big problem, specifically with augmented reality. So the way that the industry has been currently measuring AR is basically when you click the AR button, the time starts, and when you click off it, the time stops. And that time in between, they're saying that's how long somebody saw a brand in augmented reality. It's invalid data. It's bad data because, as we all know, you can take your phone and move it off to the side or drop it or never see the AR asset itself too. So what Trevor's done is where our IP really lies is viewability metrics. We understand what that user's seeing in AR, how big the brain actually gets inside their screen, what portion did they see, and for how long. So that's 3 criteria that Trevor's put in place to create an ad standard for XR advertising.
What are the, as we're looking ahead to this year, what are the new features you're planning to add this year, and how do we think about the path ahead?
So it's really interesting. So we're actually weeks away from doing our case study test with MasterCard, where we actually pay people for their data, and this derived from because the data that we're getting from XR advertising is a huge amount of data. So we go from viewability metrics to engagement metrics back to viewability metrics, and with all that data and activity happening with XR ads, we're able to look for data anomalies to weed out ad fraud. We're looking for bots. We're looking for invalid clicks. The last case study we just did recently identified a lot of fraud, a lot of different invalid clicks. So with that in hand, the data that we're getting in hand, we can actually measure a user's affinities with brands and measure their engagement and actually come up with a value of what the cost would be for that user, and give that money back to the end user. So our case study, the MasterCard, is actually we're going to run with a couple big brands. We're going to launch these, and we're going to allow people to get paid for their data that want to participate in this, which is great because now, data is a commodity. People should be paid for their own data. That's the way Trevor looks at it, and like I said, we're just weeks away from launching that.
That's very cool, and that certainly has been, I think, a pretty significant topic. We've looked at it by generation, and it seems to be, across, everyone, they have that feeling. So that's really, I would say, groundbreaking. Well, as we think about, competitive advantages versus existing technology, how do you break that down?
Right. So Trevor's in a really good position right now. We spent the last 10 years not only creating the XR ad platform that we have, but writing several patents. To date, Trevor has been awarded 20 patents in the XR ad arena, and we have an additional 55 patents pending. So Trevor is in a really good position to validate and look at data and basically able to be the first ad agencies to quantify data and measure that in a very unique way.
And can you talk a little bit about some of the early traction that you've seen?
Sure. So right out of the gate, our very first client was JPMorgan Chase, which was really a really cool experience we have with Chase. And Trevor is actually the official VR vendor for JPMorgan Chase right now. So we created 2 different environments for the home mortgage loan for Chase, where people would go to a physical bank. They would put their VR headset on and they would learn more about mortgage loans, which sounds really boring, but ironically enough, the first area we did this in Scottsdale, Arizona, there was a line out the door to have that experience. I mean, it kind of took everybody by surprise what was happening there. So the second one they launched was here in Newport Beach, California, and they're looking to expand that. So that was the very first one we did right out of the gate with our XR ad platform. And what Chase was looking at was the data, right? I mean, obviously, we're not going to populate ads inside this VR venture for Chase, but they wanted to look at the data. So they want to see what people were looking at, how long they stayed in certain areas of the house, this VR mortgage home loan educational house, and what did they do with it thereafter. So we were able to quantify that data and look at that data specifically. And then the second one, we just recently had a really good case study with a big furniture company here in SoCal. And what we did is we actually took one of their current video ads and we did what we call our 3D AR product portal. It's an overlay of a traditional video ad, and when people click on the interactive button, they're actually able to pause the video, and a product portal slid out a window where people can look at brands in 3D and augmented reality. And with that, we experienced we more than doubled the click-through rates from traditional CTRs. So we hit a 0.71% click-through rate on average, where traditionally click-through rates are 0.32. And so we had a very great experience with that, and we were actually being able to defer understand ad fraud in that same case study.
So as we look ahead, and I guess behind, how do we think about major product milestones that you've accomplished, and what do you think is the future?
So some of the things we had to do very early on, because 3D advertising, 3D brands, 3D objects are very complex, right? You have issues with polygon counts and load, which goes to load rates. So what Trevor did very early on, again, this kind of goes back to product placement inside these immersive environments like online games. We created an auto-scaling IP, which means a brand only had to create one object file or FBX files, send it to Trevor. Trevor creates what we call a Trevor branded smart object. That same asset file can be deployed through any immersive environments with one click, meaning instead of Coke having to create 10 different Coke cans to put in 10 different game locations, Trevor can send that same single Coke can to all locations with one click. It auto scales, understands the positioning of it, and once those assets are there, Trevor then looks at the viewability metrics, engagement metrics with that. In addition to that, going back to the product portal, once we started doing this in-game product placement, we learned very quickly that this product portal we had that allowed gamers to actually shop and learn more about the brands inside these games. We can take that same product portal and again go back to the overlays with video ads or display ads or even social media sites or even emails. We can use that product portal to deploy it anywhere in the digital environment. So that was we're seeing a big success for that right now, and we're exploring that with a lot of big companies.
So I want to ask you one last question. I still think there's a lack of awareness of, the technology and kind of what it can do. What do you think will be critical this year to, kind of help retailers, brands, whether it's financial services or whatnot, understand just the power here?
Call Trevor. Call Trevor. So yeah, right. So look, I get it. I mean, we hear it all the time. We spend a lot of time with big brands and big ad agencies, and once we showed them how easy it is to create an XR ad campaign, it's a no-brainer for them. Actually, we're working with a couple of big ad agencies right now that once they saw our deployment system, they actually want to use our tool set and actually put it in their own ad campaign manager. So we can white label this and put it over there. We make it very simple. I think the biggest issue is when it comes to this, again, is the educational process, is understanding, okay, it is a 3D object. What are the criteria, what are the limitations if I see it on mobile or if I see it on desktop? Again, this all goes back to our IP and how we saw that issue and how we created a system to where anybody can come in today and actually create an XR ad campaign and launch it within 5 minutes.
That's amazing. Well, everyone, you heard it here first. Joel, thank you so much for joining us. As always, I learn every time we speak. So thank you so much, and good luck with the upcoming move.
Appreciate it, Deborah. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.